Hi, my name is Borys, and in this video I'm going to show you 3 hypnotic techno melodies. Each of these patterns includes some tricks that you really have to know if you want to make these hypnotic techno melodies. But before we get into the video, if you like what we are doing on our channel, make sure to subscribe. We have more content on music production on Ableton coming up. If you'd like to learn Live 12 with all the foundations of music production, see our Beginner to Advanced Live 12 Start to Finish course. And if you want to improve your melodic techno productions, see our Melodic Techno Academy, which is your definitive guide to mastering this genre. The tracks we're using today are all available as project files, and I will also link them in the description. So without further ado, let's just jump into it. Let's give today's patterns a listen. First up, we have the Interstellar track. And the melody alone sounds like this. The patch is pretty simple. We are using saw wave with 8 voices of unison and quite a lot of spreads, so it's really wide and it's really detuned. If you roll up the sustain and increase the frequency knob here, you can hear it's really wide and detuned, but we are also adding another saw wave here, and we are also detuning it a few cents. So in order for our sound to be much bigger, here's the sound without it, and with it. So it just adds that extra thickness to the sound. All we are doing here is basically we have a very short attack and decay on the amp, and we are also modulating the frequency knob with the second envelope with a bit longer decay time. And yeah, finally we are automating the frequency knob. At the beginning it's barely audible, but then it opens up nicely. There are a few effects on top, but the biggest difference comes here from the return tracks. We have 2 delays set up on the return tracks. Let's take a look at the pattern itself and figure out what's making it sound so hypnotic. So first of all, we have the D sharp minor scale. Let's fold to our scale, and we are just arpeggiating over one chord. Is the D sharp minor chord. So you can see it's the D sharp note, F sharp, and A sharp. The only other note, in fact, other than these 3, is the last note here, the B. If we make this D sharp minor chord, you're going to notice that it is the 6th. And this note is really special here because it adds a lot of tension. So the first tip is going to be, if you want your melody to sound more hypnotic, you can introduce the 6th. It can make your melody sound quite mysterious. And also rhythm is really crucial. So we are pretty much playing D, F sharp, and A sharp, but we're also playing, for example, A sharp here, we're playing F sharp here, playing D sharp here, and also A sharp here. So we're only arpeggiating over this chord. And the last note is the 6th. One other thing is that we're not using the first accent note, and skipping the accent note, especially at the beginning, can make your melody sound a bit groovier. It can actually make it feel slightly polymetric, even though this pattern is exactly 1 bar long. Okay, let's listen to pattern number 2, and the track is called Awake. Okay, so let's saw the wavetable lead patch with the synth. Right, the patch itself is pretty simple. Let's quickly go over it. 3 oscillators, so sub and oscillator 1 and 2. The sub is playing the beefy low end. On top of it we have some digital sounding wavetables playing. One other cool feature of this pattern is that we have the chord device here, which is playing an octave above and the octave in the fifth above. These notes are added only in some areas. If we take a look at the automation, for example, here in this area, you can really hear these higher frequencies. It's a subtle difference, but it's a nice thing to add if you're looking for sonic variety. I won't be going through all the audio effects on top. It's pretty drenched in echo and reverb. Let's try to recreate the MIDI clip instead. Let's just create a MIDI clip over one bar. Okay, so first of all, we're gonna choose a scale, and this is the Phrygian F sharp. And the Phrygian mode is really cool. Basically what happens in the Phrygian mode is that the first and the second step of the scale are only a semitone apart. So this note and this note. And the interplay of these two notes create a really hypnotic vibe. Okay, so let's write our pattern this way. We're going to go down from the second step of the scale, so from G2, but not playing on 1, just like in the first pattern. We're going to also put this on the weak beat here. We're going to go down to the first step of the scale. Let's maybe fold the scale so it's easier. We're going to go down to the first step of the scale here, also in the weak beat position. And we're going to go down here, and like this. Let's hear it. Yeah, we have our melody pretty much. The only thing that's missing is that we have a ghost note sort of here with a lower velocity, and we also have like a little ghost note here. If we loop this, you're gonna hear what it sounds like. The only thing that was done here is the start point of the loop was moved here to the middle. So let's listen to this loop now. So what happens is that we're actually starting to play from the middle of the pattern, and this creates interest because technically we're starting the pattern here instead of at the beginning out the first kick drum. And yeah, moving around the start point in your MIDI clip, this can make a simple melody sound way more interesting because of the added rhythmic variation. Yeah, we're mostly playing the second here, which is the special step in Phrygian, the first, so the F sharp. We've got the fifth, so the D, and we've got also the fourth, which is also a tension note, and back to the 1. So once again, if we're playing over the F sharp minor chord, these are our safe notes, and these are our tension notes. We are doing an interplay of the safe and tension notes. That's what's adding this tense and unstable vibe here. And of course, the Phrygian mode is really great for this type of melodies. Make sure to include the interplay of the second and the first step of the scale. Alright, let's move on to the third pattern, and this track is called Desert. Let's hear it. Okay, and let's take a look at the melody, the lead from this part. First of all, we have a nice patch in analog with a bit of a slower attack. Of course, we're modulating the filter, but we also have some noise added, and we have 2 octaves of oscillators. There are some effects, but it's mostly putting it in a nice space and adding some vibe, like with this classic chorus here. And I'm not going to be going over this. Let's just try to recreate the MIDI pattern. First of all, we are going to be using the D minor scale, and let's already fold the notes. And we are only going to be using 2 notes, which are D and F. And that's basically the first and the third step of the scale. So these are pretty much safe notes. But we're going to use a trick which is going to turn this pattern into a polymetric pattern. And let's move them an octave above. And I'm going to be adding more of the 16th notes, going down to D here and back an octave up and back to F. Now down an octave and back down. And I'm going to take these two notes and make them much shorter. I'm going to back up with the velocities and make the notes slightly shorter. And with the 16th note grid enabled, you can see that our pattern now has 7 steps, which is not an even number, and we are basically going to be looping this area, like this. If we now extend this over, for example like this, and maybe we also nicely automate the cutoff, listen to what it sounds like. First of all, we are obviously making some of the notes shorter, but also the pattern ends in a different spot and starts in a different spot every time. So you see that this is one bar, and here we have the pattern starting at this offbeat position, this weak beat, and it's starting in these a bit more random places, which basically makes the pattern sound different every time it's repeated. Let's play it once again. So even though these are actually 2 notes played over different octaves, and because of the fact that it's just 7 notes in a row which are looped, this results in an incredibly interesting vibe. Every time the pattern loops, it's like a completely different relationship between this melody and the rest of the track. Alright, I hope you'll find these hypnotic melody writing techniques useful. Make sure to check out our Music Production Academy with start to finish courses on making tracks in various genres. And if you'd like to learn Ableton with all the foundations of music production, check out the Beginner to Advanced Live 12 Start to Finish course. And if you'd like to improve your melodic techno productions, check out the Melodic Techno Academy Volume 2, which is your definitive guide to mastering this genre. The tracks we're using today will be linked in the description, as well as everything else. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell. If you enjoyed this video, leave us a like, write a comment, and I will see you in the next ones.